3 years, 11 months and 17 days after President Donald Trump warned from the west front of the U.S. Capitol that American carnage stops right here, the very spot he stood was engulfed by his own protesters bringing carnage of their own. It was a stunning scene Trump encouraged hours beforehand and refused to condemn afterward. It left one woman dead, sent members of Congress ducking for cover and forced evacuations after pipe bombs were discovered in nearby office buildings. Coming 14 days before the end of his presidency, the unprecedented episode prompted renewed calls for Trump's impeachment and fresh talk of the 25th Amendment that would remove him from office. At least one senior White House staffer resigned. In many ways the spectacle was the natural culmination of a presidency built on disregard for democratic norms, antagonizing government institutions and willful ignorance of the far right's violent tendencies. The mob interrupted the very act that will certify President-elect Joe Biden's victory and formalize Trump's loss. But as predictable as the scene may have been, it nonetheless amounted to a low point for American democracy. The sitting president, in tweets and a video, offered only mild rebukes while seeking to justify the crimes committed in his name. The messages and video were deleted by Twitter and Facebook in what the companies said was an attempt to prevent more violence. Trump's Twitter account was temporarily suspended. Only after pleading from aides and congressional allies inside the besieged Capitol building did Trump release a taped video urging the mass of his supporters, many carrying Trump flags or wearing Trump paraphernalia, to go home, while still fanning their misplaced grievances about a stolen election. Trump appeared otherwise disengaged from the melee. Instead it appeared the vice president, who was evacuated from the Senate floor where he was presiding over the Electoral College count, was responsible for coordinating the government's response. In his video, Trump praised the mob, who broke into the Capitol using force, stole items from its rooms and posed for photographs in the legislative chambers. "We love you," Trump said. "You're very special." Later, he seemed to justify the actions in a tweet, writing, "These are the things and events that happen when a sacred landslide election victory is so unceremoniously and viciously stripped away." The minute-long spot, taped from the White House Rose Garden, was hardly the forceful denunciation of the violence that nearly every one of the president's allies and advisors were encouraging him to deliver over the course of the afternoon. Aides who had served with him for years began discussing submitting their resignations. One, the First Lady's Chief of Staff Stephanie Grisham, said she was departing. By evening, as sirens wailed on Capitol Hill and Washington entered a 6 p.m.